Infernoid is one of the decks that has somehow managed to completely stay relevant despite the format continuously changing against in its favor. You can say that it voids all of the new rules in favor of its own, being able to destroy your opponent's boards as well as summon some huge monsters that can be devastating. I'm TheCaliEffect, and if you guys want to see more videos like this, then go and destroy that subscribe button. But more importantly, you can banish 3 Infernoids for that notification bell because, well, we just too strong. I want to give a shout out to every single one of my Patreons. Without you guys, videos like this would not be possible. I appreciate your continued support. Also, shout out to our newest Patreon, Deshaun Baker. It's awesome to have you aboard. One more thing I want to talk about is if you guys want to buy the cheapest cards online, then go ahead and check me out on Instagram, the Google documents down below in the link description, or TCGPlayer. Again, I appreciate you guys supporting that way too because we've been selling a lot. Without further ado, I present to you a competitive Infernoid deck profile for this format. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, let's take a look at those stats of the Infernoid deck profile. Infernoid is a very, very powerful deck in the means of attack. Most of your monsters can eclipse easily over the 1500 range, but your highest attacking monster in your main deck is 3000, and you can summon it with ease. The defense is not so great because there are Infernoid monsters that have 0 defense, but then there are Infernoid monsters that are really strong with the same respectable defense as their attack, which kind of gives it a little bit of an off balance. The power of this deck, its genuine power is to be able to not only disrupt the opponent's graveyard, but negate their key activation spells and traps, as well as make board wipes like crazy. Having a Dark Hole and a Heavy Storm in your deck is just totally insane. I think one thing that I want to talk about this deck is consistency. Infernoid has always struggled with getting massive amounts of Infernoid cards in the graveyard, and a lot of people have only made those inconsistencies even further by playing cards like Layer of Darkness. Now, is Layer of Darkness a great card? That's subject to person. I don't think Layer of Darkness is a very good card at all, period, mainly because it relies on your opponent's resources, which isn't necessarily bad because you get to tribute them off. But the biggest problem with that is that it forces Infernoids to play going second, or it doesn't add to the consistency, rather just to the potency, and this deck is already pretty potent. So let's start off with talking about the monsters and why I don't play the Layer of Darkness, because this is not a Layer of Darkness build, and how we can still make Infernoids pretty damn competitive without it. 2 copies of Infernoid Anuku. What this card does, or actually before I get into talking about the Infernoid monsters to specifics, every single Infernoid except for Infernoid Decatron has the clause that they cannot be normal summoned or set. They can only be spell summoned by banishing a certain amount of Infernoid monsters from your graveyard or hand to your side of the field to summon these monsters. The next clause is that they normally tribute a monster on your side of the field to gain the effects. Now that is where Layer of Darkness comes in perfectly, because you can tribute your opponent's monsters for the effects of your Infernoids, and don't get me wrong, that is awesome. Being able to get rid of your opponent's problematic threat and possibly banish a card on their side of the field or in the graveyard is amazing, but again, it does not add to the consistency of the deck, something that this has always struggled with. So Anuku is really good because when it's summoned, that allows you to wipe your opponent's monster zone, and then when your opponent activates a spell or a trap card, you can tribute a monster to banish it. Deviati is almost the exact opposite of Anuku. When it's summoned, you can destroy all spell and trap cards that aren't face-up void cards, and then you can tribute a monster to negate the activation and banish it, or tribute a monster to negate the activation of a monster and banish it. These guys are high-level Infernoids. They require 3 Infernoid monsters to summon. The reason why we play 2 and 2 is because we want to play our first copy for the Decatron combo, and then our second copy for the Fusion combo, allowing us to get exactly into what we need. So that's it for the big guys. For the semi-big guys, these guys require 2 Infernoid monsters from your hand or graveyard to summon, and then the tributing effect can only banish cards on your opponent's graveyard, but it's during either player's turn. 2 copies of Infernoid Seismus, 1 copy of Infernoid Jet. Now, Infernoid Jet actually does have use. When he attacks, you get to banish a card in your opponent's extra deck. That's not terrible, but the real reason why it's in here is because of the Void Feast combo, being able to summon this in 2 Decatrons, triggering off the Decatrons to activate their effect, sending these two monsters to the graveyard to gain yourself a spell and spell trap / monster destruction. And Seismus is actually the best high level Infernoid in my opinion. That doesn't require 3 Infernoids. What it does is after it attacks during the end of the battle phase, you can banish a card on the field, so it's really good at getting rid of monster threats. And it's also a 2600 body. Now you guys might notice that Infernoid Atondo is missing, and the reason why I don't play Atondo is because while I do think it's a good card, I just opted over better cards inside of the deck to help me flow with the deck. Atondo is great, but its effects only attack twice. It doesn't really do what I wanted to do, and I just dropped it in favor of other cards. Now, to the little Infernoids, these monsters can be summoned only from the hand. The other monsters could be summoned from the hand or graveyard. These monsters can only be summoned from the hand by banishing 1 Infernoid monster from your hand or graveyard, and their effect normally involves the field. Actually, all of their effects involve manipulating the field in some way, shape, or form. Infernoid Petrula allows you to destroy a spell or trap card, but it cannot attack. We run 2 copies of that because spell and trap card disruption is important. Also, it is a level 4 Infernoid, so that does come up a lot. 3 copies of Infernoid Harmodic. This card is actually the reason why I dropped the Atondo, because this card is so important in today's metagame. Not only does it free monster disruption, it's a rank 3 play. It's just a really, really good card because it allows us to make rank 3 plays with ease. It's a Decatron target to make rank 4 plays, and it gives us that monster destruction that we need. 1 copy of Infernoid Antra. This card actually allows you to bounce cards on the field to the hand, so it's pretty good at getting rid of opponent's problematic threats. All of these cards get rid of your opponent's problematic threats, and that's the reason why I play them. Also, Antra forces Decatron to become 3, as well as getting rid of a card on your opponent's side of the field, also making Decatron, giving the viability for a rank 3 play. That's it for the Infernoid monsters that require banishing Infernoid monsters to summon. Lastly, we play 3 copies of Decatron, making it, I believe, 16 Infernoids that we play into this deck. This is probably the most important Infernoid monster outside of Anuku and Deviati. What it does is when it's normal summon or special summon, you can send 1 Infernoid monster from the deck to the graveyard. This card gains that monster's level, but more importantly, it gains that monster's effect. So it's pretty good at, you know, copying cards' effects, being able to bounce cards, destroy cards through Petrula or Harmodic, or even better much so, negate cards through Deviati and Anuku. So it's an extremely important card, and it helps you tuner Infernoid monsters to your graveyard for further plays. It's also a tuner, so that actually does come up, you know, when it does. It doesn't often come up, but when it does, you're like, oh, wow, that's kind of cool. I really do like this card. It's the reason why the deck is so good. That's it for the Infernoid monsters. You can say that we're into the Noid part of it. Get it? Because they're all right. Anyways, next on to the next monsters. These cards are more support. We want to get Infernoid cards to our graveyard as fast as possible, so I run 3 copies of Card Trooper. Not only does Card Trooper fulfill the requirement of being a level 3 monster, so Card Trooper plus any Infernoid monster with Harmodic in your hand is a mill 6 cards as opposed to Raiden just being a mill 5 cards. It also has more potential, especially when we get new support, actually indirect support within the next upcoming sets. Next is 2 copies of Raiden Hand of Lightsworn, and this card is miraculous in itself as well. You can send the top 2 cards from your deck to your graveyard. It is a tuner if you guys decide to go more of a synchro route, but I like it because it allows me to send cards from the deck to the graveyard. So in total, we have 5 normal summonable monsters that all send cards from the deck to the graveyard. You combo them off with your Infernoid cards that you mill off, and you can get some pretty good combo potential. Lastly, for the monsters that we play is 3 copies of Cypher Gear Gamma and 1 driver. This is probably the most important hand trap to this deck. I actually was thinking about running Call by the Grave, but Call by the Grave doesn't stop my opponent on their turn going first. So I wanted to run Call by the Grave, but like I said again, I can't stop like Ash Blossoms, or not Ash Blossom. I can't stop my opponent's monster effects, them from popping off with Call by the Grave on turn 1. This card can not only stop the opponent on turn 1, but it's very much applicable inside of the Infernoid deck. You actually wind up searching with your spells or activating spells that could be Ash targets, could be this targets, could be that targets. So Driver does come into handy, and it allows you to summon Cypher and Lord Omega, which is just a really powerful card for shuffling back or cycling back your Infernoid monsters back into your graveyard. That's it for the monsters at what I believe is 25. For the spells, we run 3 copies of Void Vanishment. Now this will make your opponent's entire board disappear. Seriously, it really will. Get it? Vanishment, disappear. But anyways, what Void Vanishment does is that you can discard 1 card from your hand and add 1 Void spell or trap card from your deck to your hand. It's arguably the most important Void, because without this, you wouldn't be getting into all the Void cards you need. Next, I do play 3 copies of Void Imagination. I'm not 100% sure on playing 3 copies of this card, but I do know once you see it, if you can activate and resolve this card, it is a win condition on its own, so it allows you to play going first and going second Infernoid. If you go first, you open with the Void Feast combo. If you play going second, then you just Void Imagination them and win the game from there on out. This card is just really important. Also, keep in mind, it makes all your Infernoid monsters level 1, meaning that you can summon almost many Inferno monsters as you wish, because it's going to be really hard to get to 8 when you have a whole bunch of level 1 Infernoids on your side of the field. Lastly, of the Void spell cards, I do play one copy of Void Seer, and I'm heavily debating on dropping one Void Imagination all in total, or just dropping it for a copy of Void Seer, because this card is just bananas. It stops my opponent from infinite impermanenting me. It stops him from ogring me. It stops him, well, I'm sorry, stops him from ogring me. It stops him from not necessarily ashing me, but it stops just so many cards in the game. It stops Widow Anchor. It just stops so many great cards. It's an amazing card in this format because it literally just says, no, this Infernoid monster is going to get off. It's going to stay on the field. And even more, it has a great banish effect. When it's in the graveyard, you can banish it to protect one of your Infernoid monsters as well. So this card is extremely important to the deck, which is why I've definitely considered running 2 copies. And it's a Void card, so it's discardable through Void Feast, very worst case scenario. Next, 3 copies of Charge the Light Brigades. I know we only run 2 copies of Raid and Hand of Light Sworn, but it kind of doesn't matter. You're not going to see all 3 in your hand, and if you do, there's ways to actually recurse Raiden, so you'll be all right. You'll be able to send 9 cards plus the 2 cards, which will probably be game seeing all 3 of these plus another certain card. Now, the reason why I feel that this is so powerful is because we do run 1 card from the Battles of Legends, Relentless Revenge, that allows this deck to just be stupidly good. It allows us to make mistakes, or not necessarily make mistakes, it allows us to mill cards and then recurse them back, fulfilling our combos, and this card is just amazing. It was great in testing. 3 copies of Slash Draw. I'm telling you guys, this card's fucking busted. I mean, it seems like a neg 1 at the very best, and you're like, why would I do that? I have to shuffle the cards back. The thing with Slash Draw is that you don't have to shuffle the cards that you send to the graveyard through the effect of Slash Draw. Okay, so what it does is that you discard 1 card, then you send the top cards from your deck to the graveyard equal to the amount of cards your opponent controls, and then you draw 1 card. If you draw Slash Draw, you destroy all cards on the field, and then your opponent takes 2,000 damage for each card that was destroyed by this effect. If not, you shuffle cards from your graveyard back into your deck, equal to the number of cards sent. Now, opening with Slash Draw isn't the best thing in the world, unless you can get a mill off. And if you can get a Troop Dupe Scoop combo off, if you can get Charge of the Light Brigades with Raidens off, it's perfect because it doesn't matter. And the later your games actually get, and the bigger your games your opponent's board gets, this card becomes more amazing because milling 5 cards from your deck to the graveyard is awesome. But even more importantly, like I said, this card has some hidden good things about it. You can shuffle cards like, I don't know, Raiden, Hand of Light Sworn, extra card troopers back into your deck. You can shuffle Infernoid monsters you want back into your deck to make, you know, like Anuku and Deviati to make your Void Imaginations live. It's just found its way to make so many cards that were once useless useful again. It allows you to activate Void Feast multiple times because you can shuffle the cards that you sent to the graveyard right back into your deck. It is an amazing card, and your opponent almost has to Ash Blossom Enjoy Spring this because they don't want to run the risk of you actually hitting Slash Draw. If you activate this card and hit Slash Draw, there are so many times where I've activated this card. Actually, I want to say every single time I've activated this card, it would have been game. And if it wouldn't have been game, I would have made enough monsters on the board for it to be game to make my opponent Ash Blossom this, which actually falls into the favor of Cypher Gear Gamma because they Ash Blossom it, you Cypher Gear Gamma. Now you have more cards to inflict damage with, as well as a Gamma on your side of the field. This card is amazing. Next is 2 copies of Machine Dupe. Machine Dupe is extremely good. If you open the Troop Dupe Scoop combo, which is Machine Dupe plus Card Trooper, you'll be able to mill 12 cards from your deck to your graveyard. I don't even know. You'll win the game. It's just not really much else to say about that. There's actually, once we get another Link monster, I'll probably redo this deck profile or possibly even put it on my Patreon, but it's the new Dinosaur Link monster, which turns a monster to a different attribute. Another thing I want to do is, once it comes out, is turn Decatron into a machine and then Machine Dupe Decatron to get 2 other Decatrons to our side of the field. It will be awesome. So Machine Dupe is here to stay, mainly because Troop Dupe Scoop, but more importantly, once we get the new Dino Link, we can turn Decatron into a machine and then dupe Decatron out to our side of the field. And then lastly for spells is 1 for 1 because it's a free Decatron to our side of the field, which means more combo plays. Next for the traps, 3 copies of Void Feast, the best trap of the deck. If you get this going first, you're going to open up with 2 Decatrons and a Sajet. That means 1 Spell or Trap negation, 1 monster negation, as well as 1 disruption in your opponent's graveyard. But more importantly, you get 5 Infernoids in the graveyard, so that's always good. That's it for the main deck at 44 cards. I'm gonna blaze through the extra deck and side deck because I feel like we're pressed for time. 1 Infernoid Tiara, you only need 1 to win the game. Summoning this card is a blowout. Being able to use both its effect to send 3 cards from the top of your deck to your graveyard and send cards from each player's extra deck to the graveyard is pretty funny because we do complement that with Elder Entity Intis. When this card is sent from the deck to the graveyard, or when this card is sent to the graveyard, you can destroy cards on the field. So use it to destroy your Infernoid Tiara if you must, to be able to summon other Infernoid monsters to your side of the field. Use it to break your opponent's board. It's just part of literally the busted combo that you'll have because you'll have 6 Infernoids in the graveyard as well as 3 disruptions, and you know, just keep going from there. Cypher Lord Omega is also another choice to send to the graveyard with Inferno Tiara. It's also a synchro summon target, as well as being able to recurse any of these cards back into the extra deck or any of your cards back into the deck. Minerva is an easy rank 4 play to make, sending more cards from your deck to your graveyard. So is Dante, being able to send cards from your deck to your graveyard to increase the chances of you getting more cards. That's it for the Synchros, Fusions, and Exceed monsters. For the Link monsters, 1-star Yugioh. This card's actually relatively easy to make within this deck to draw 4. 1 Borlo Braggin, best Link 4 in the game. Deco Talker, a really good card. Topology Bomber Dragon for back row disruption. Dual Little Chimera is really good because fire monsters, deck is full of fires. Gives your fire monsters attack. Master King Archfiend because the deck is still Fiend. Nightmare Service and Nightmare Phoenix. Now you guys should say I have fiendish plans for this deck, but it's just a really good deck, being able to do all this type of crazy things and to allow yourself to ruin your opponent's day. Get it? Fiendish? Because I like 1, 2, 3, like, and they're all fiend. All right, anyways. On to, my apologies, the sideboard. The sideboard I'm gonna keep relatively simple as well. 3 copies of Sideframe Gear Delta. This card's good against Spell Reliant decks. Cough, cough, Trickstar. Cough, cough, Sky Striker. 3 copies of Jolting Lockbird. This is easily the best hand trap in the game. Side it in when you're going against Goki or a deck that really loves to search. 3 copies of Sphere Mode for the Goki matchup. When they try to extra link you, you say, "Great Beast of the Sky, please hear my cry." You tribute all their monsters and you basically win the game. 3 copies of Shared Ride. Cards also really nutty. Being able to draw cards every time your opponent searches is just something that I consider mainboarding. And then lastly, 3 copies of Twin Twisters for back row disruption. That's it for the main board, sideboard, and extra deck, guys. Let me show you guys a couple of these combos so you can understand why getting cards to the graveyard is so good. Alright guys, these are some simple combos to help you basically get off on any of your combos. Go a little bit deeper into your combos. The first combo is a 3-card combo. And again, all of these are allowing you to dig deeper. This is going to get you a Destruction, a Bounce, and a Mill 3. All you need is an Infernoid Harmonic, a 1-for-1, and an Infernoid, or I'm sorry, a monster to pitch for 1-for-1's cost. You're going to activate 1-for-1, pitching a monster. This time I'm using Infernoid Deviati. From your hand to your graveyard to special summon Decatron to your side of the field. Go ahead and use Decatron's effect to send Infernoid Entra, making Decatron a level 3. Then Decatron's other effect to bounce an opponent's monster from your field to your hand. That's your 1 bounce. Banish the Entra to special summon the Harmonic, and then use Harmonic's effect to destroy opponent's monster on the side of the field. That's your destruction, as well as use both of these monsters for an Exceed summon for Dante, Traveler of the Burning Abyss, using Dante's effect to send 3 additional cards from your deck to your graveyard. That's how you're going to get, out of a 3-card combo, you're going to get a bounce, basically a destruction, and a Mill 3, as well as if you discard an Infernoid, another Infernoid monster to propel your combos. All of these combos, again, are really short, simple, and sweet. There's nothing really much to them. There's one combo that's just insane, but it does require something a little less prominent. For this combo, you're going to need Charge of the Light Brigade, and the only thing you need to do is mill an Infernoid monster through the effects of Charge of the Light Brigade or your effects of Raiden, as well as Infernoid Petrulia in your hand. So what you're going to do is activate Charge of the Light Brigade, milling 3 cards. I'm just going to pretend that one of them is an Infernoid card from my deck to the graveyard to add the Raiden Hand of Lightsworn. Next, I'm going to summon the Raiden Hand of Lightsworn to mill 2 additional cards from my deck to my graveyard. So as you guys can see, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cards in my graveyard already. I'm going to banish that Infernoid monster to summon Petrulia to my side of the field, then use Petrulia's effect to destroy a spell or trap card. But even more importantly, we're going to use both of these monsters for an Exceed summon of Minerva Exalted Lightsworn. Use Minerva Exalted Lightsworn's effect, detaching the Petrulia, to send 3 more cards from your deck to your graveyard. That is a great way to get started. Now, the last card combo is insane. This is why we can mill so many cards. And if you draw this combo, I just don't see you losing. I just don't, especially if you draw cards like Slash Draw to enable you to manipulate your graveyard how you want to. This is a 2-card combo. The only thing you need is Card Trooper and Machine Duplication. You will outright win the game. I mean, like, it's just really hard to fathom that you'll lose. What you do is summon Card Trooper, use its effect to send 3 cards from your deck to your graveyard. Next, you'll activate Machine Duplication on the Card Trooper, summoning 2 more Card Troopers to your side of the field. Then, using those Card Troopers effect to send 3 more or 6 more cards from your deck to your graveyard. Next, you'll use these 2 Card Troopers for an Exceed summon, and you'll use that for a Dante Traveler of the Burning Abyss. And you use Dante's effect to send 3 more cards from your deck to your graveyard. So right now we have 3, 6, 9, 12 cards in the graveyard. When Card Trooper is destroyed, you get to draw a card. Dante Traveler, of course, can recurse itself, but even more importantly, we still haven't committed to our Infernoid summons, and we only have 6 on the board. You can again use these 2 monsters for a Link summon, which would be, you know, I don't know, if you want to destroy your opponent's back row, Nightmare Phoenix, Nightmare Cerberus are really good choices, and then summon your Infernoids and go literally off however you want it. This deck is really strong. Thank you guys so much for watching another segment of the Cali Effect. I really hope you guys enjoyed this deck profile. I really hope you guys have come to see or come to like this as opposed to the Layer of Darkness build, because while I do feel that the Layer of Darkness build will have some success from here on out, I still think that this build does have its own benefits of its own, being able to send cards, and it only gets stronger with the new support. Please like, comment, subscribe, but most of all, enjoy. I hope you guys are having a great day like I am.